And go.
Hi there, and welcome to a live session. It's being recorded, but it is live. This is not script, and this is part 2 of trauma fear. If you did see part 1, I had left off about my marriage. We're not going to go into my marriage today. There was an event last week, and I didn't record it in session. Why, I don't know. But we're going to go over that, which does include trauma fear, trauma hate, and where I'm at today, going on 1 year and 6 months, and trauma therapy. There's been a great adjustment from hate to disgust, which you are about to learn. What I do want to say is when I started trauma therapy 1 year and 6 months ago, going on 6 months, even though it's been beneficial, this is what I looked like coming into trauma therapy. Full head of hair, I look much younger, and I've aged 40 years, 30 years since then. No, that's me when I was younger. And now, because we stated my therapist is going to use a different name, she's not comfortable publicizing. So last week she was the last segment she was going by Lauren. Today she's going by Phyllis with an F. So say hello, Phyllis with an F.
Hi everyone, this is Phyllis with an F.
And this is the best that I could do. This is what she looks like when I leave her office. So this is her. Sorry. She doesn't look like that when I walk in, but yeah, for some reason her eyes go and her hair goes. But anyway, last week I was telling Lauren, this individual, which I won't say her name, she's been talking about coming on board with me doing these YouTube videos. And even though she made it clear in the beginning, she wasn't sure, but she'll do what she can. She wants to think about it. I was on board with that. But since I got it going, I'm really excited about this. And I wanted to move quickly, and she wasn't on board with me. So we had a discussion about it. And I had mentioned with her, I need to know if you're on board with this or not. Because there's a lot of changes that I made, and I really want to get this out there. So I told her, look, if you're not on board, just let me know right now. Because we can end this. I'll go my way, you go your way. Because I don't want to end up hating you. And right away, when I was sharing this with Phyllis with an F, she said, that's trauma fear. So that basically, we went on to the discussion, but trauma fear I wasn't in line with. But what I wanted to go over was that word hate that I used, and that bothered me all week long. Because I don't want to hate anybody. So what I did was, we got an easel. Is it zoomed?
Mm-hmm. Yep, got it.
So this is just going over. Lauren had, or Phyllis with an F, said that's trauma fear. And I kind of saw it more like ego shock, which is when our ego, when someone damages our ego, we go into a shock. And I said, after 1 year going on 6 months in trauma therapy, I've had to make some improvement. And I couldn't have meant the word that I'm going to hate this person. That could not be right. So I ended up going to the APA dictionary, which you could Google the APA dictionary and look up terms. The APA dictionary 2024 defines hate as hostile emotions combining intense feelings of
detestation.
I can't pronounce that. Detestation, anger, and often a desire to harm, also known as hatred. And I know that's not what I meant. So I used a word that came out automatically from my past that did not align with who I am today and not what I meant.
Exactly.
So there's an imbalance there.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up this word that I couldn't pronounce or spell. I had to copy and paste it. Detestate. Hey, I'm getting good. I'm ready for a spelling bee.
There you go.
Gotta go. So looking up this definition by Google search, because APA didn't have it, I found the synonym. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
I got it right. Synonym of the word disgust. Google Dictionary defines disgust a feeling of strong disapproval aroused by something unpleasant, also known as offensive. A strong disapproval. And that is the word that I meant. I was very disapproval with where we were at, that she wasn't catching up to me. And the reasons why is because the way I saw it, her words were not lining up with her actions about coming on board. I mean, I'm ready to go. I want to get this moving. I got all these new ideas going on. I've been learning how to edit. And if you've been watching my live segments little by little, you can see they're improving. But according to me, she was interrupting my time for my goals by slacking, for a lack of better words. My goals are for at least one other to get this, my story to inspire and encourage, 3, put my passion to use for others suffering and trauma, and 4, to finally put my degrees to use. So even though I see it, it's not all about me, it's for others, I'm kind of making it all about me because she's not catching up to me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
In all honesty,
Yeah.
it still became, I mean, I've gotten a lot better, but I haven't arrived, but I left.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder with thinking about through like a trauma lens, thinking about our verbiage, the words that we use, right? And how impactful that can be on our like the emotion that goes along with the word, how we're thinking about other people or the world around us based on those words we use, and thinking about when we are in that really like hyper arousal, fight or flight state of like everyone's trying to hurt me, right? I have to protect myself. The words we use generally are more like more high level, like general types of words, right? Not as specific. So if you think about like hate is more of a general, like anger, hate, joy, like those are general, but then you get down into that disgust, disapproval, right?
Which is a big difference.
Very big difference.
Big difference.
And then when you're able to process through that and realize, okay, I'm speaking from my trauma lens right now when I say hate, and that is going to perpetuate or continue feeling rageful, feeling that, you know, desire to harm, whatever, right? But then being able to step back from that to say, no, that's trauma lens. That's not where I'm really at, right? And so I'm gonna, like what you did right here, process through to say, what is the more specific feeling, emotion I'm having?
It didn't line up.
And then it allows you to get from, if you think about like in our brain, when we're in that hyper arousal, when we're in the trauma lens, we're in that basal brain, right? Like our primal brain.
Which is the lower and the back by the central nervous system of the brain.
Which is very much like hunger, anger, impulses, right? But then when you get down to processing through, finding a different word, then you're kicking your thinking up to that high level, like frontal cortex, right?
Okay, the frontal lobe.
Yes, where you
managing,
can be
coping skills,
rational, right?
Impulse control.
Exactly.
You know, thank you for that. I mean, that's awesome. Because when I was very uncomfortable with this word after I had said it. And then when I looked up, when I went through all this and I found out disgust and disapproval, I was at ease. I was like, that's what I meant. My words were not aligned to my feelings. And that's the importance of trauma therapy. Now, for the first time, I'm recognizing I need to find and use the right words to express how I'm feeling. Because right away, when I said the word hate, you had said, that's trauma fear right there. And I was like, damn, all this time and I'm not where I thought I was. But
again, it's very normal, right? As we're growing as human beings, as we're expanding our thinking, right? We're going to slip back into what's normal because humans, we like pattern, we like repetition, we like what's comfortable, what's homeostasis. So it's normal that we're going to slip back, right?
Yeah.
But that's where we catch ourselves and we say, whoa, 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 I'm going back to the old ways. That's not what I want right now. How do I get out of this?
As Skinner called it with behaviorist therapy, which we're going to go over different theories of psychology. The behaviorist theory, mainly led by Skinner since the early 40s, the behaviorist theories believe we have no unconscious, that all of our behaviors are like a conscious state of mind making choices. So their argument against Freud and Jung's unconsciousness had in part to do with our behavior. Skinner said, no, it's not an unconscious. It's called repetitive learning becomes a repetitive behavior. So like that word hate, because when I have food that I don't like, I'll say, I hate that. You know, or the winters here, or the weather. Man, I hate this weather.
Yeah.
You know, but when I use that word with my emotions built up, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
So it's that repetitive of just using a word.
Yeah. And if you think of neurobiology, which I am not a neuroscientist in any way, so this might not be correct, but what right, what I have learned through therapy is that oftentimes with trauma, those neural pathways in our brain can get really, really like worn down, right? The more we go to like, I'm feeling uncomfortable, therefore I must be hating something. The more you connect those two dots, it becomes ingrained, and that is how our brain automatically processes discomfort equals hate.
And see,
right?
and with that, we won't apply coping skills to say, what am I really feeling?
Exactly.
You know, and we might just be what's known as becoming a high self-monitor or low self-monitor. You know, I want to see the situation before I respond, and we're uncomfortable. We see that, self-security, you know, so yeah, and then we get uncomfortable and we could leave. Or we can make, you know, an ass,
flight,
like I've done, fight, freeze.
Right.
Or you said there's another one, fawn?
Yeah, fawning. When you're, when you kind of adjust your reactions to somebody else in order to avoid conflict, right? So trying to like meet other people's needs, soothe their discomfort in order to not feel that conflict or that attack coming at you.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so fawning is kind of, it's, if you think of like a baby doe fawn, right? It's like trying to be as accommodating, as appeasing to someone else as you can to avoid instigating like a big reaction from them or them having an explosive reaction.
That's not a bad thing. I mean,
it's not
that's
bad, unless you do it your whole life and then you stop asserting your own needs in order to avoid someone blowing up at you.
Or if you're doing it like I went through that phase for, 10 years of people pleasing.
Right, exactly.
That's when it becomes afraid of their response, so you overly try to please people. You act like you're really interested, and you go overboard. I mean, that really destroyed my self-identity and self-esteem. People pleasing.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But that word hate would have lined up, and I did go through an inventory of myself, and then, okay, let me read it. Okay, the word hate her. If she's, I even said, because you're not on board, are you humoring me or pitying me? Is what said that.
Yeah.
And because I don't need to be humored, and I don't need to be pitied, and the reason being, I felt insulted, taken advantage of. I expect the truth from people, and once it's broken, it is very hard to get back. And games are for children. And I erased it, but I kind of see it as a lie, but it's not. I mean, in reality, I mean, back then I would have saw it as a lie, because under trauma, the internalized anger, which is a symptom of PTSD, and aggression, and internal anger and external anger. So when someone doesn't align with me, like is in my welcome video, I go through that. It's a lie. But I don't feel comfortable I feel comfortable with everything else, but not lie, because for me that's a strong word. Now, my trust in her became broken was my first reaction. And for me to trust, what people don't understand, it takes a lot for me to let someone into my weird world, especially when I share a lot. I've shared my hurts, my pain, my shame, my guilt, and my deepest secrets. I give my full transparency. I would give my life for, and I would drop what I'm doing anytime, anywhere to be there if they need my help. I kind of explain it. I'm the guy that if you ever call, I'm the guy to go bare-ended, scooting like a dog with dingleberries across a carpet through a desert of broken glass. Is when someone gains my trust, I'm there for them. So that's why I would take it very personal in the past. But in all honesty, I went through all these emotions immediately under that one word for me to trust. My trust in her is broken. Immediately, this is what that means to me.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, a lot of people respect this.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you go about it on someone is what ruins it.
And do you think in any way experiences you've had throughout your life, like some of those trauma experiences, is there like a shorter fuse between someone doing something, right, igniting that fuse of
Yes.
mistrust, and then boom,
Right
like
here.
a very short fuse?
Yes.
Yes.
Because, like, you know, when we first started seeing each other and I was going through all the crap I was going through, and you were saying how that make you feel, And I said to you, I would like to go back, what memory does it draw up?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe with trauma, yeah, everything, you know, we experience a feeling, but there's a reason for those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So going to Freud and Jung, psychoanalysis, to dig deep.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jung calls it, the shadow self, the secret.
Mm-hmm.
And the memories of the trauma, like you just brought up, what leads to these feelings, which is in part 1, part 2 of my life segments, what I'm about to briefly go over, actually began in prenatal when my mom was pregnant with me. My dad beat her, so she was under high stress. She would drink, so I was born already with disorders, born with infant asphyxiation, no oxygen to the brain. I was born dead. That led to disorders. From there, daycare. During nap time, we were on that circle sleeping, and they swatted that girl's behind for talking. Mm-hmm. And she was screaming for her life. Mm-hmm. And me, I know for sure, as I'm sure all the other kids, we were just frozen thinking we were next.
Right.
And I did not want to go. Every time my mom would bring me there, I would cling on to her leg and scream. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the time or if I ended up telling her, but she did end up taking me somewhere else. Mm. So that.
Yeah. And
I was
on such a young developing brain too, to see those kinds of like aggressive behaviors at home. Right. Yeah. And then daycare is like another place that should be safe and you should be able to feel cared for and nurtured. Yeah. But then that trust was broken too in that moment.
Because they were taking care of us, they were feeding us, they were taking us out to recess. So I'm putting my trust in them, and then bam! I mean, that girl was screaming for her life. Yeah. Screaming, and they're just whacking her behind. You know, and I was helpless.
Yeah. Trust broken.
You know? Mm-hmm. And I think that's another reason why when I finally trust someone, I give my all, because I'm letting them know I can finally do something about something. Mm-hmm. Let me save, help. Mm-hmm. You know? Hey, I just thought of that.
Saving, that might be an interesting thing to come back to later in a different video, is with trauma, when we're living life through that trauma lens, what does saving of others mean? Like why is there that innate desire to save others, right? So maybe in another one.
I'm gonna write a note here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say really quick, and then we'll expand on it next week. I'm thinking, because that moment when I suffered PTSD, when I lost all sense of control, when I'm able to help someone else, that that is in dire need of help, and I'm the last to-go guy, and I could be there, maybe I'm saving them when I couldn't be saved.
Yeah.
You think so?
Absolutely. Trying to gain control in some way, right? Like doing for others what you couldn't.
Well, the
what others didn't
satisfaction
do for
that
you.
someone's in dire need, and I can, because the word help becomes save.
Yeah.
I can save them out of a jam where at that point in time when I was shocked from people, no one was there to save me.
Yeah.
And yeah, good stuff.
Interesting.
And then first grade, after daycare, my first time in first grade, the play. I had a spotlight. I didn't want the spotlight. I couldn't get my lines right. I was so insecure how I looked. She would yell and scream at me in front of the other kids. The day before the play, she put her finger in my face and yelled at me, "Don't get my play wrong." And I remember thinking, why is she putting her finger in my face and yelling at me? I'm right here. I ended up getting my part wrong. She belittled me after in front of the kids. I went to the feeling chart that I have at home. Lauren has this, where is it? Lauren has this awesome emotional sensation wheel.
Phyllis has it.
Phyllis, sorry.
Lauren had it last week.
Yeah.
Phyllis has it this week.
Phyllis with an F. Where is Lauren? So, if you can get one of those, you got it on Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon. They make it in like magnets you can put on your fridge too, so you can quickly look at it and kind of go from, again, that very like high level generalized emotion and try and narrow it down to like, what am I actually feeling? Am I really sad, or am I actually feeling something different?
And there's always one more feeling, because going through the chart I have at home, she insulted me, singled me out, shamed me, terrified me. I was terrified. She shut me out, not for you, because one day in class I didn't finish the coloring assignment. It was time for PE. Everybody else went to PE. She made me sit in front of the window to finish my coloring and said, "Look at everybody, have fun. This is not meant for you." I mean, she was just, these are the only two incidents that I remember. And then once again, all the kids seeing her do this figured it was okay. So they started. I mean, it was just brutal. My mom gave everything, and she repeatedly got beaten over and over and over from my father, like my brother. So I saw this. My mom, who gave everything, was traumatically beaten constantly. So we got daycare, we got first grade, we got home. Home was very unbalanced. I mean, from the time I remember, and it was going on before I can remember, so as an infant, it had to be going on. My brothers tell me it was. So even though I don't remember, my brain's absorbing it. I'm seeing it and feeling it.
Absolutely.
So home life was unbalanced, a lot of yelling, beatings. My brother was always running away. My dad was always fighting somebody when he got drunk. No father figure around. So, with that being said, according to my feelings chart under scare, are you able to get that in there? Panic, shock, afraid, overwhelmed, intimidated, vulnerable, dread, tormented, tense, threatened, uneasy, nervousness, which also is a diagnosis of PTSD. You're always at unease and you're always nervous. Startled, no security, anxious, another sign of PTSD. So I already had all this before PTSD, which just exacerbated it, I'm sure.
Well, and then not to like necessarily get into the weeds with this, but there's a lot of research being done too on the genetic component of trauma and how trauma can be passed down through genetics from generation to generation. Exactly. And I think there's a book about it, and I can't remember the name right now, but it says like through the studies they did on animals and whatnot, they found, and also through like Holocaust survivors
yeah.
and like their lineage, they'll find that it can go back like up to 7 generations back. So if you think about somebody in a horrible traumatic situation, a horrible life, right? Like their offspring up to 7 generations down the line could be having that
explains
innate
so much.
sense of unease and anxiety and hypervigilance.
That
and
makes sense.
right? Like even if people aren't raised in a traumatic environment, if they have that in their genetic pool, like that can still come out and play a
So
role.
they're like one step away from experience. And, you know, like they found a lot of veterans that didn't go at sea, war, suffer PTSD waiting to be called.
Yeah.
And the research found the veterans that they tested with this had suffered so much trauma in their life, but not PTSD. They were like one step away from PTSD. And then that fear of going to war
kind of was like the thing that kicked it over the edge. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm gonna research that. So, shy, timid, perplexed, and very doubtful is what I started off with.
Yeah, that mistrust right from the beginning.
I mean, that's pretty messed up, man. And
it's a lot to overcome, right?
I have.
That's a lot to overcome. Yeah.
You know, which kind of, and that's even before I suffered PTSD. So, if you go to my life segments, I go in part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4, 16 minutes long. Part 5, which gives the story of PTSD, that's about 30 minutes long. But that kind of explains everything that I was going through. So, for you to say that's trauma fear, that's not easy for me to, I mean, it's not hard for me to go back to that trauma fear.
Right. And if you think about it from a survival lens, the brain again is going to say, okay, this pathway of this feeling of mistrust equals hate, rage. We have to save ourselves. We have to protect ourselves.
Protect myself.
It's so ingrained in the brain that it's like, oh, that one inkling of a feeling immediately results in these thoughts, these emotions.
It opens up a floodgate.
Because you have to survive, right?
Yeah, and then with that survival, you know, you get these thoughts. See, I knew I couldn't trust.
Right.
You know, I'm never going to let anybody in.
Right. Reinforces that negative assumption of like everyone's going to crap on me, right?
Unless I crap on them first.
Well, that got in, a whole nother conversation there.
You know, like I shared with you, I saw in a program, how do you end up having a happy ending to your story?
Yeah.
And the comeback was end the story when you're happy.
End the story when you're happy.
Yeah. End the story when you're happy, and you have a happy ending. And I took that and I started thinking, how does somebody with PTSD and trauma have a happy ending?
That's a very interesting question, which can play into thoughts of unaliving oneself, right? Well, I'm going to end the story where I choose to.
I'm going to ruin it.
Or
before they ruin me.
I'm going to self-sabotage. Or if you think of it from a flipping of the lens to more of a, not an optimistic thinking, but flipping it to more of a growth mindset thinking, to say, okay, well, if I want to end the story when I'm happy, maybe I need to end that part of my story so I can move on without it and feel that happiness, right? Like ending out that chapter of like, that was my old life. My new life is in front of me, and I get to choose what that looks like.
Exactly. And with that word, this is going to be a great segue, using that word hate, instead of writing out the storm and ignoring it.
Yeah.
Repressing it like everything else in the past. I said, I got to find out for real what did I really mean? Did I really mean hate? Because so instead of just ignoring it, because I don't want to end it with her, because I know, like she said, she's got to wait to see where it goes. She doesn't have time. And once again, I'm putting my exuberance.
Good word.
Yes, I have that toilet paper with words of the day, you know, so, and you end up saving toilet paper because you use one sheet at a time to read the word. So,
Did you find that on Amazon too?
yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, and they came with the card that said "Good luck." Um, where was I going?
Got distracted. We were talking about
putting the cart before the horse. The word
Okay.
exuberance.
exuberance, yes.
Yeah.
And you were trying to figure out, where does that trust go? How do you push through it? Like,
Yeah, because I came in that day with her and I said, "Look, I got all these new concepts. It's time to move forward."
Yeah.
You know, I want to reach out to this clinical psychologist, and I want. So my exuberance wasn't exciting her. So now that I'm really getting this all out, you know, I just want to be right once in my life. I was wrong with, damn it.
Don't we all?
I just one time I want to be right. In front of someone else, when I'm alone, I'm always right, but with somebody else. So, yeah, you're witnessing me take credit for being wrong again. You can see I still don't take it well, but I'm learning to admit I was wrong again. Whew.
What
Did it get
emotion?
hot in here, or
Yeah, I
is
was
it
gonna
just
say,
me?
what kind of emotions or thoughts are coming up with that?
Right now, it's very hot in here all of a sudden. See, on
Getting
my
flushed.
sheet,
I think
it's
flushed is
organized.
on there somewhere.
I didn't bring my eyeglasses. Hopeless. Sorry. No, I'm joking. That's under sad. Actually, it was kind of, I'm not seeing the word under. Here's the word under sad. Kind of regretful that when I really get excited about something, because I have been working on patience. You know, you've been having me work on self-control for
Long time.
a long time. And I believe I've come a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that moment where I lost self-control, now that I've admitted it, the one word is regretful. But I'm also excited that I can recognize it.
Right.
And admit it, to become humble.
Yeah. And how interesting there, you were able to reframe, right? Like, okay, you have this feeling, you're getting hot, you're feeling regretful, which kind of indicates, like, when we have a regret, it's like, ooh, I wish I could change the past.
Yeah.
Which we can't, right? Unless you have a time machine that we don't know about. You can't change the past, right? And so the opposite of that regretful is excitement for what is to come and how you're going to do it in the future.
I like that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because getting this out now, you know, I can be excited. You know, like I shared with you when I first walked in, I went to see her the other day after all this, and I wasn't happy about being there. I was like, I told her I don't want to be here. Because I guess it was this. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But now getting this out, I'm excited to see her again, knowing, A, I was wrong. And that if she is going to, I can't force her to be on board. And that there is a part for her.
Is part of that kind of that underlying concept of acceptance?
No.
Like, once you accept a situation for what it is, whether you like it or not, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we don't have to like.
Yeah. I can. Yeah.
Right? We don't have to
Definitely.
like something to accept it.
I've been going through a lot of that.
Right.
In life. And something is not aligning with what I want. No, I've learned to accept it.
Yeah. And being able to then move on and not like percolate and like ruminate on the emotional part of it. It's like, nope, I accept that isn't what I wish it would have been, and I'm going to move forward.
I haven't yelled at anything. I've been on the computer doing homework. There's been errors. I've just been figuring out why something went wrong. So there's been a lot.
So I think
of
in this segment, because I think you're coming to your time that you'd like to keep it at, but in this thing, we went all the way from that hatred, right, intense emotions, survival, trauma response, lens, all that, to acceptance, peace. Right?
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the whole thing about why knowing the right words with your feelings is important. And kind of what we just hit on, I don't know if you can make it out, is Freud's iceberg. With the ID being total, the iceberg with the water line.
Yeah, and the fish.
Okay, you can't see
In the boat.
the sailboat. The iceberg on top and underneath the water, what people don't see is our unconscious.
Mm.
The ID is the unconscious and all of our past repressed within us. That Jung calls the shadow, our secret personality. Then the ego, which is the mediator, but the super ego is our development of our morals and our values, which is conscious state of mind and an unconscious state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the ego part, he's the mediator between the super ego and the ID. So right now we could say we just witnessed the super ego mediating between the super ego, the conscious state, and my unconscious reactions.
Absolutely.
So
Bravo. Bravo.
So that was figure 1A. I thank you for joining, and I hope you made it this far in the segment. If you have, please comment, in which I always explain in my live segments. I hate saying it, but YouTube says to say it. Please subscribe and leave your comments, likes or dislikes. Thank you and have a good day, and say goodbye to Phyllis with an F.
Bye, Phyllis with an F.